What's good, everybody? In business, specifically marketing, timing is everything. Getting in front of a trend before it becomes a trend is a great way to not only position yourself as a subject matter expert, but really to put yourself in a position where you can then dictate the growth and the opportunities within the industry, or just at least for your business. Picking up on what's happening in the world and how it's going to impact your business. Should you expand? Should you market differently? Should you start advertising when others aren't advertising? Those are essential to being at the forefront of when your business or your industry is about to explode. And one industry that was impacted, like we all were, but in a positive way, similar to another topic we touched on before, were plant stores, specifically stores that were selling plants either for your home, to be decorative, or to be comfort devices. They experienced significant growth, excuse the pun, primarily during the pandemic. The crazy part about this, though, instead of going a complete bust after the pandemic, many stores not only sustained, but they thrived because they became essential parts of people's lives while they worked from home, worked remote, traveled, and actually took the place, in some cases, of people's pets and sadly even loved ones. See, this is one of those industries that experienced growth during the pandemic and was able to sustain it for a significant amount of time. And the thing is, I've seen how vibrant that entire industry has become here in Chicago, but it's all over the world. But how long can that last? How long will it last? Many plant shops have opened up in just the past 5 years to where we're seeing roughly 200 to 300 shops in very densely populated urban environments. What is helping them sustain? What is helping them grow? And will this continue well on outside of the pandemic, especially with the changing economic environment we're about to see and as we're all being impacted? That's what we're going to get into today. Are plant stores still in full bloom? And is there an opportunity for your business, if you already have one, for you to enter this industry, or better yet, to partner and grow? Oh man, it's going to be puns all over the place with this one. To grow alongside any plant shops around you. Let's get it. What's good, everybody? So another industry that we saw has significant surge in popularity and growth. Damn, pun again. Growth during the pandemic were plant shops and plant stores. Now, during that time, the majority of these plant shops and plant stores were, of course, delivering these plants so people could have them at home when they were working from home or they were working remote, or sadly, because maybe they didn't have enough people around the house to keep them company when they were at home alone. So if they didn't get a pet, they got a plant. And of course, it was less upkeep. Not to say that they're not living creatures and they should not be taken care of. I'm not going to get into all that. We also did see a growth in faux plants, in fake plants. Yes, a lot of people were purchasing these as well to spruce up the place. Just like vintage and thrift stores, these businesses have somewhat sustained. Now, we have seen things fluctuate. We've seen things go back and forth. But we have seen some significant growth in specific cities, densely populated urban environments all around the country, where these businesses are continuously opening up, or the businesses that are already there are expanding. The surge in online plant sales during the pandemic primarily can be attributed to 5 key factors. The biggest of which, of course, is the increased time spent at home, just as I mentioned. I mean, think about it. You're locked down, you're working home remotely. Once again, you kind of maybe even by yourself. I mean, we saw a lot of people, couples breaking up. So a lot of people were home alone. So they wanted something living and they wanted something at home with them. Makes perfect sense. Also, more people took up gardening, and doing indoor gardening. In-home gardening became a really popular hobby. Blew up all over Instagram, and then, of course, TikTok. Of course, as everything. Went from Instagram, now TikTok. But plant shops being physical places to go and work after the pandemic became a new growing trend. And is actually was at one point one of the fastest growing businesses coming out of the pandemic because people could get outside, they could work outside, even if they're working remotely. Business trends during the pandemic, of course, changed up because the world changed. But afterwards, people saw the benefit of still being around plants, even if they didn't have one at home. What if you own one of these shops? What if you wanted to get into this business? It was very sketchy before the pandemic. Going to a plant shop, it wasn't necessarily the best investment, right? It wasn't as competitive as cafes and restaurants, but if a damn sure wasn't as lucrative as opening up a drop ship store, with very little investment, right? It took significant investment, it took significant time, and of course, having a green thumb doesn't hurt. Other key factor to keep in mind about the plant store trend and why it had continuous growth, and still to this day, we see, once again, urban environments, we see more and more plant shops opening up or sustaining and expanding. The mental health benefits. Gardening and caring for plants showed a reduced stress level as people went through more anxiety, not just because of the pandemic, just because of other things happening in the world. And as we see with a lot of uncertainty going on right now, anxiety about to go through the roof. And it has already for a lot of people, even you, the business owner. The mental health benefits are undeniable. Also, the retail shift to e-commerce. As mentioned, during the pandemic, it was primarily online plant sales. Although a lot of those plant sales came from actual plant shops that, of course, couldn't have customers coming in, so they shipped them out. Now people can bring them in. That's why we're seeing alternative business models popping up for the plant shop, which we'll get into a little bit more. Next up, the do-it-yourself home improvement trend, which is another trend that really blew up, especially on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, where people were doing a lot of home renovations, home remodels, because they were spending more time at home during the pandemic, and they kept them going. This actually was one of the reasons we saw a surge in retail sales, especially amongst retailers such as Home Depot, at the time Lowe's, and Target. Well, we know how things have changed there significantly, but of course, this is during the pandemic and right out of it. Finally, there was a big push to support local shops and local stores, which was a significant area where plant shops were seeing support. Maybe people couldn't go in the store, but there was a strong push to support those local businesses and order from them, as opposed to ordering plants online. Plants online from foreign, overseas, or just out of town plant shops. Also, if you're getting living plants, it's kind of better to buy from something local because, of course, it's more conducive to your local environment. And let's just be honest, it's a living, kind of plant. You want to make sure it's not coming to you all welted and dying and everything. Let's just be real. Makes more sense, right? See, these factors are not completely unique to the plant shops. These factors are the same things we see when any major world-changing event occurs, where an industry can identify how can we serve a need and value. Those y'all picking up on these gems, y'all. Okay, it's all about the value. Plant shop owners, plant store owners notice the significant value that it was bringing to customers during the pandemic and afterwards. During times of high anxiety, uncertainty, just overall crisis, people look for any refuge they find. Where they can find it. Goes a great example: entertainment. And unfortunately, even the negative side of things, what they call the vice businesses, right? These are the businesses that typically see a surge when there's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty in the world. Plant shops, on the other hand, gave a positive, a healthy alternative, not necessarily a medicine, but at least a way to de-stress and to detox from all the craziness that was happening during the pandemic and what we're seeing right now. But the key is this a new opportunity for plant shops to grow and thrive? That's what we'll get into next when we talk about strategies, not just for the plant shop owners, but for you as other business owners and entrepreneurs who may want to work and partner with plant shops. So think about those key components. Think about those key factors where they had success before and what can happen again and how we can apply them to the new strategies when we come back. All right, now y'all, so strategies for shop owners. Let's first focus on the shop owners, right? Because you guys are the ones that are going to be immediately impacted by everything that's happening right now, more so than people who want to potentially more so than people who just want to enter the industry or people want to partner with you. Right now, you're being impacted, right, immediately. So let's get right into the strategies that could assist you. So use these tips more so as an action plan, even though I'm calling them strategies. We always want to make sure we clarify the difference between a strategy and a plan, right? A strategy overall, what could happen, this is our overall goal, that kind of thing, not necessarily specific activities. Plan is an actual activity. So look at these as actual activities. First off, let's talk about this. The increasing interest in indoor plants. Although we immediately would assume, right? People want to go right back outside and people want to, just go to the beach and want to hang out and do the things that they couldn't do for like basically 2.5 years of being cooped up, right? Or being just more so on guard. Although with the changes in the economy, issues with tariffs, changes and challenges with jobs, people are actually going to spend more time in the house once again. And that's why there have been more online searches for indoor plants. As I mentioned earlier, because a lot of the gardening that's happening is indoor gardening in urban environments, it's not as easy to find the space outside to garden. Although, yeah, you have community gardens, you have local community gardens, but you also have local small gardens where a person can have in the backyard. A lot of people are getting interested in indoor gardening, or at least just working with indoor plants. That's an opportunity right there. If you become a specialist, or if you are already a specialist, double down on it. Opportunities for you to share that knowledge with young people or people who are just basically coming from it. I don't know anything about gardening, like myself. Listen, you give me a plant, Aaron ain't gonna have no plant for a while. I'm just gonna be honest with you, okay? That plant gonna be gone. And when I mean gone, I mean rest in pieces. Sorry. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But you could educate me. You could be that expert that I need to save this plant. You help me help this plant. Great part about this is that this is not just for the professional. This is also for the student. A lot of students spend more time at home. Now, we've seen changes and fluctuation with people going back to college, people going to grad school. A lot of people are still spending a lot of time studying, whether they're going to formal education or studying on their own and doing professional education or independent education. Once again, in front of a computer. Once again, not in front of a lot of other people. That is another group to target, whether you're making blogs, you're making online content on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you feel the most comfortable for your content to go. Position yourself as an expert because you have the green thumb and we need your knowledge and we need to save this plant. Once again, help me help the plant. Second area, focus on it being an eco-friendly practice. See, more and more customers, as we brought up with the vintage and the thrift stores in the past episode, more and more customers are focusing and increasingly looking for sustainable, eco-friendly products and hobbies, and to make purchases that are a lot better for the environment. This includes organic fertilizers, right? Biodegradable pots, plants that support local ecosystems. Remember, I brought up that's why people started to focus more so on plants that were local. So if you aren't already doing this, you need to jump on it. Number one, get out to those freaking farmers markets. People are loving farmers markets. Farmers markets are blowing up right now, and they're not slowing down. Also, a lot of consumers find this to be a great way to support local businesses and local shop owners. If you do not participate in a farmers market, you need to start. And here is the piece that often gets missed. If your neighborhood, if your community, if your whatever doesn't have one, work with local businesses to create one. I've seen it. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say any of this is easy. If we got into business for ourselves, we know it's not easy, right? We're not getting into business to make it easy. We're getting into business because it's our passion. Work with a local church, synagogue, mosque. Great ways to partner with non-for-profit organizations that have a community already built in and develop a farmer's market. One of the best reasons, right, to work with one of these types of organizations is not only because it has a built-in community, but often because they have the space. In some cases, they may not. But in a lot of cases, especially in urban environments, we're seeing where they have at least a parking lot, a front yard, or they're close to a park. Work with a local community organization that already has a built-in group of potential consumers. Now, of course, we're about business. We're about making money. But at the same time, it's going to support the community. And the community will come back and want to support you. Another opportunity is, of course, to take advantage of the e-commerce platforms. I had to stop for a second. Y'all know what I'm going to say. I know I sound like a broken record. And frankly, I'm going to keep doing it. If you have a business, you have to, not should, not can, not must. I'm not even going to use that one. There is no question about this. You have to have a website. Even if you don't ship product as your main source of revenue, right? Maybe that's secondary, third stream of revenue. Maybe it's even your third revenue stream. Doesn't matter. You need an online presence from a revenue standpoint, not from just social media, but from a revenue standpoint. 3 great YouTube channels right here. Fantastic representation of what you could be doing with your plant shop. Give me insight to the experience. Tell me how to save this plant, because he ain't gonna make it. She ain't gonna make it. One of them ain't gonna make it. Both of them ain't gonna make it. Help me help the plant. And you can do that on YouTube. Now, I keep bringing up YouTube for one simple reason. YouTube provides the best assortment of features. Not to say short form, not to say, great imagery on Instagram or Pinterest. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic platforms. And they're also search engines in their own right. But YouTube gives you the best legs because, once again, if you are now connecting that e-commerce store to your YouTube channel, you're now on literally the second most powerful search engine still to this day. Okay. Crazy thing about this, 4 out of 10 people right now still don't even have a TikTok account. You know why? Because a lot of people share that TikTok content across other platforms. So if they do want to consume TikTok, they can just go to another platform. Also, the uncertainty of TikTok in the US has made it less desirable for a lot of people to even jump on the platform. Not to say people aren't getting on there, not to say people aren't using it, just to say there is a lot of apprehension. Although, it's kind of hard to find a person who isn't watching YouTube right now. You're literally listening to this podcast on YouTube right now. So, put yourself in the best position to win. Connect that e-commerce platform to your YouTube. Make sure we know about your e-commerce platform through YouTube. And as mentioned, one of the best platforms for e-commerce is Shopify. It's a native e-commerce platform. Literally, it's designed for e-commerce. If you're looking for a platform that's designed for e-commerce, that would be Shopify. Whenever someone says they're opening a store online, the first thing I think about is Shopify. There's other platforms, yes. But if you want something that's very easy to work with, easy to upgrade, and let me tell you, it runs very smoothly when done right. And of course, we do them right. Just saying, you got to put shameless plug. Shopify is the way to go. A 1-2-3 plan and strategy all in one. Position yourself as a subject matter expert where you've seen this increased interest in indoor plants and indoor gardening and people just wanting to have more life around the house. Whether they have a family, whether they're single, doesn't matter. What's the best plant to have if they have a dog, if they have a cat, if they have a child in the home, right? If they're expecting a child, if they have a big family, if they only have so much time around the house, you know those answers. So that's the kind of content you should be building out, and that's the kind of content you should be sharing, especially in a way that younger consumers or consumers with very little time on their hands, right, to where they can go out, they can shop, or they can spend time at a plant shop, that they can easily consume and they can take on and that they can dare share out with their friends and family. And of course, build a community around that. Understand the trends and the interest that consumers are having in more sustainable and eco-friendly products and practices. Do you need to change up your product mix? Maybe. But you want to sell what the people want. You want to focus on what the people want. So if they're looking for more eco-friendly products, that's what should be in your shops. That's what should be on your website, which is the third point, putting yourself in a position to win, to be on e-commerce and connecting with the proper social media platforms to get the word out. Live stream when you get a new product in. Work with local influencers in your neighborhood as they come into your shop, and bring them into the shop to show the place around, to show it off online, especially on the platform that you're trying to promote on. I'm going to throw this one at you real quick. It's more so on the strategy than plan side, but you can make a plan out of it too. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when working with influencers is they'll find an influencer on a platform, but it's not the platform they're putting the most energy into. It's the platform that they want to put the energy into. You notice what I'm saying there, right? So if you're on a platform where let's say you put a lot of videos up on YouTube, but you don't have any activity on Instagram, you don't have any activity on TikTok, you don't have any activity on X, but you get somebody who has a great following on Instagram, a great following on TikTok, but you don't have enough content there yourself to support that promotion. To be honest with you, get that content up before you start working with that influencer and that promotion. That way people have something to come back to, because I've seen this a couple times before, and unfortunately, I knew how I was going to go. Let's just be real. I knew how I was going to go before it happened, but I was told after the fact. But I knew I was going to go, like, before you even got to the punchline. I'm like, I know what this person's going to say. We brought this influencer in. They're really big on TikTok. Do you have a TikTok? Yes, we have a TikTok. How many pieces of content do you have on there? Barely anything. Why do we have an influencer from TikTok? Gosh. Or worse yet, they have an influencer who's just kind of a general influencer, if you will, like mostly for that platform. They don't really focus on that niche. They don't really focus on that community. Focus on somebody who really works with that community, even if they only have 10,000, 5,000 followers, but they have people who really move when they move. That's what an influencer is. So if you're going to go on YouTube and you're going to go hard, find that person who talks about gardening. Find that person who talks about plant shops. Find that person who talks about going out to plant shops or going to purchase plants or home improvement, and they use a lot of plants. But they're on YouTube. Even if they have 2,000, 200, it doesn't matter. If they focus on your niche and your community, and they actually make an impact to even the smallest group, that's more valuable, because that person has more trust and influence with that community. So keep that in mind when you're about to do any type of social media strategy. Is that the platform we're really pushing right now? Do we have enough content on there right now? And do we have enough content to where we can take advantage and leverage what this person's going to bring to us if we're going to work with an influencer? Keep that in mind. But of course, finally, connecting that online sales channel to your social media, making sure you have all the proper connections. Real quick, just thought about something. If you would like us to do a video on how to optimize a social media platform to connect to your e-commerce platform, we can go into whether it's Shopify, Squarespace, no matter what platform you use. We're focusing on the general optimization with e-commerce. Drop a comment. Let me know, because if you want that, we'll make sure that happens and get that video for you right away, because that is something often missed, where people have a great social media presence, but they haven't connected the dots and they haven't automated it the way it should be. And this can be something that can be automated, right? So you can focus on growing your plants. You can focus on being a subject matter expert. You can focus on running your business and running your shop. And finally, let's say you're not in the plant shop business, but you want to partner, you want to connect. Number one, the biggest trend we're seeing are cafe plant shops. That's what we're seeing the most growth in, because once again, there are people who want to come outside. There are people who are like, listen, I work remote or I work from home, but I don't want to stay in the house all the time. Believe me, I know what they mean. Okay. That happened to me for some years now, right? You got to get outside the house. That's why I do these whole cafe strolls. So I just did these cafes in Avondale. And we got another community coming up in another few weeks that we're going to show the cafes and highlight the cafes of me working remote at these cafes. It's the same thing. If you are a cafe shop owner, you can work with a plant shop owner, bring in your plant, showcase what you do, or vice versa. Maybe they sell your coffee in their plant shop. But we are seeing a combination of a lot of plant shops become cafes, and literally there are two businesses in one, but the same owner, but there's a great opportunity to partner. See, don't put yourself in a position where it's taking you out of your strongest point. Maybe you have enough space where you can have some tables set up, but you serve coffee from a local cafe. You serve pastries from a local cafe or a local bakery. If you own a bake shop, you own a coffee shop, this is a great way to partner with them and keep that business within the community, keep those dollars within the community. And the next opportunity would be anything in the health and wellness area. What we've also seen are places such as juice bars or places that sell health foods or sell organic foods only. Even, and I've seen a few of these, there's a couple around here, places that promote overall health and wellness, such as yoga or Pilates, partnering with plant shops to give people an overall full body wellness opportunity. All right, now, y'all. So there are some strategies and some key activities that you can do to partner up with local businesses, or even if you have your own shop and you already do partner with them, maybe some ways for you to get out there and get more attention to what you guys are offering. Once again, could be that farmer's market, getting on YouTube, or connecting the e-commerce elements to your social media presence. Either way, you can take advantage of the tools that are out there and the opportunities that are out there to jump on. It's not a trend, it's just growth right now. Once again, excuse the pun, but it's there. It's not a trend. You can still take advantage of the growth that we are seeing in certain communities and optimize your offerings. That way, it gives you more, not only gives you more revenue streams to work with, but also gives you more opportunities to stay in front of the customer and stay top of mind to the customer, and the local customer especially, to where you can not only survive but thrive during these uncertain economic times. So with that, don't forget to check out the YouTube channels. We gave you some examples of what you could be doing with your plant shop, what you could be doing with your plant store, and what you could be doing with your unique offering, and how you can position yourself as a subject matter expert, as well as connect with the audience and build a greater relationship. So if you do have those online orders, now they can take advantage of that online presence you have through YouTube on the promotional side and e-commerce side for your sales. And of course, if you guys want to see how to optimize those social media platforms, specifically with your e-commerce website, drop a comment. Just drop a comment saying ecom. That's all. ECOM. Just drop a comment in there saying ecom, because that way we'll know. Let's make this optimization video for you guys to show how you can connect it. And once again, this is not going to be about using one specific type of web platform or one type of website for your e-commerce platform. It's going to be mostly focusing on how to optimize that social media platform in connection to your e-commerce store, right? So what are the features you're not using? What are some of the things you should be saying in those posts and on those profiles? And most importantly, what are some of the tools out there to make this thing be far more automated than it is right now, or that you just didn't even know there, so you don't even have that entire setup and that ecosystem set up for yourself to where it can make your business run a lot smoother. And you can focus on what you need to, the customers in front of you, and making sure they have a great experience. So look forward to those comments. Make sure you check out those YouTube videos we've shared with you, those YouTube channels. Show them some love, because, hey, they took the time to make those videos and make those channels. And we definitely want to show them appreciation for doing that, because it's going to give you some ideas of what you could be doing with your shop and your store. Thank you once again for listening to another episode of the Ambition Show podcast. I've been your host, Aaron Muhammad. Best to you and yours. Peace.